I've been in crypto since 2012. I've made millions and I've lost millions. Now I focus on just one thing: stable, high-yield returns with minimal risk. No hype, just smart, capital-preserving strategies that beat the market week after week. I'm the stable lad. Let's get into it. A quick disclaimer before we move on. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing shared is financial advice. I am not a licensed advisor. Always do your own research and consult a professional before investing. You've done a sort of primer on lending protocols in this channel, and you can go back and watch that video if you just want the sort of basics and the primer around it. This is a much more deep dive into sort of how these protocols work, how these crypto lending protocols function, how they manage their risk, what they're innovating on, all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to focus a little bit more on Aave, although I'll mention some other protocols. We're going to focus mostly on Aave because Aave is the king in this space. It has the most value locked in it. It's on across multiple sort of protocols and platforms and blockchains. It's got billions of dollars in value locked on the chain and tons of activity used by most people in crypto space. So we're going to focus on that, but we are going to jump around and talk about a few other protocols in there. So the way I like to describe these lending protocols is sort of, I compare them to a bank, but it's a bank that never closes. It's a bank that doesn't ask you for your credit score in order to give you a loan. It doesn't freeze your account, and it can't misplace your funds. It's a bank that you earn real yield on, and it's not because there's some, printing some cash or rewards or something like that, but because other people are willing to pay in order to borrow your money. And the best of all thing is that it's governed by code. So it's governed and created and managed by code and the community. There's no CEO, there's no execs, there's no regulators who play favorites. That's basically what Aave is. That's what these lending protocols are. And if you're a stablecoin investor like I am, who are seeking yield with capital preservation, Aave and these lending protocols that I'm going to mention in this video are the most powerful and possibly underappreciated protocols that you should know about in crypto. So how does it work? Let's say you have $10,000 in USDC. Instead of letting your assets sit idly, you deposit it into Aave. Immediately, your money becomes part of this global liquidity pool that borrowers can access. So it's just all global. Anybody in the world can borrow borrow the collateral that's in there, but only under strict conditions. Borrowers have to over-collateralize their loans. That means that if someone wants to borrow $10,000, they might need to lock up $15,000 or more in ETH or whatever the asset is that they're putting up as collateral. This protects lenders, like myself, from loss if the market moves against the borrower. Think of Aave kind of like a pawn shop with highly secure vaults. You don't hand out cash unless the borrower leaves more collateral behind. And if they disappear, the vault opens up and sells their deposit to repay. Instantly, there's no court, there's no delay. So why borrow at all, right? This is one of the more common questions I get from traditional investors. Why would someone lock up $15,000 just to borrow $10,000? So a lot of people like to avoid selling their crypto, right? Their volatile assets, and they think that they're going to go up over time, right? People that hold Bitcoin, people that hold Ethereum, they want to hold it over time and they don't want to actually sell it. So here's a way that they can actually borrow against it. They can keep the collateral and allow it to go up or down, and they borrow small amounts in order to do whatever they want to do with it. They can take, and borrow USDC to invest it. They can take out stablecoins and pay their bills with it, right? So they don't actually have to sell their crypto. They can just pay their monthly rent or buy their coffees with it. And they use those loans just for that. Also, you can use it for leverage. So you can you can create a sort of leveraged position, right, with crypto assets. So let's say you're long Ethereum. You hold Ethereum, you're long Ethereum, you put it into a vault, and then you borrow more Ethereum against the Ethereum that you borrowed, and therefore you're leveraging your long position on Ethereum. Let's talk about oracles and kind of how it all works, right? So, and risk management in general. In order to keep those loans healthy, there's a health score that Aave and any lending protocol puts on the loan. And your health score is basically a healthy loan to value ratio created by the rules in the code. If the value of the collateral drops, Aave uses real-time price oracles from a protocol called Chainlink here. And Chainlink basically has these data feeds that feeds real-time price data to the protocol. And they have all these price feeds, right? And they're just feeding these to the protocols in real time so that Aave can use the pretty much exact value of those tokens in real time to make sure that the healthy value, the loan to value ratio. So if a loan becomes uncollateralized, the protocol automatically liquidates the borrower's assets to repay the lender. There's no collections, there's no credit agencies, it's just sort of cold, hard math using these real-time oracles, these real-time price oracles, and the code that Aave has put into their protocol to do all this math. I've gone over in detail why I think Aave is a protocol that sort of deserves a grade A in crypto. There's only really 4 for me, and Aave is one of them. And I mean, it's pretty simple. There's billions of dollars locked in value in Aave across multiple blockchains. They make real revenue. I mean, you can see here they make, there's $121 million that the protocol itself makes. Here's holders revenue, 49 million. So it's a really, really active protocol, in other words, right? Not only that, they've been around for 5+ years with 0 user funds lost. They're audited by the best crypto auditors. And those are not like financial auditors. Those are code auditor companies like Trail of Bits, Open Zeppelin, and several others. It's non-custodial. So you control your wallet at all times. You can lend money and take money out whenever you want. There's no sort of holding period. There's no waiting period. Also, there's no admin keys. That basically means that there's not like one person, one CEO, or one king controlling the protocol that can just siphon all the funds out. It's run by the community itself and by people that hold the Aave token. I'll go into that a little bit more detail later. And there's you can just see here there's plenty of activity on the chain. It's on the protocol itself, and it's just not going anywhere. Let's briefly talk about sort of innovation, because Aave isn't just they've created the code and now they're done. It's really an actively managed protocol. All these lending protocols that we'll mention are actively managed. They don't just sort of exist in the code and you can just use it, although that is a possibility, right? Someone could create a code and you can use it and they can not manage it and build and innovate on it anymore. Aave is not one of those things. Aave is innovating. And one of those things that they've done, which is really, really cool, are flash loans. It's kind of like a financial time machine, and here's kind of how it works. A user borrows a large amount of capital without any collateral, but they have to pay it back within the same transaction on the blockchain. So, like, for example, an Ethereum blockchain transaction takes 5 or 10 seconds. So they have to borrow and pay within that same exact sort of time period. And if they can't, then the transaction fails and nothing actually happens. Why would anyone do that? Like, who uses them? Traders use flash loans for arbitrage opportunities between different exchanges that have price variations on a specific asset. Developers use them to automate collateral swaps and liquidations. Auditors and security people use them to stress test the systems or patch bugs. And then protocols use them also for rebalancing assets within the complex system. None of this really matters, except that it means that there's more utility. And as a lender in the protocol, it just helps boost up the lending fee revenue that we earn because the protocol is being used for all kinds of different things. Go is another one of the things that helps the protocol earn revenue. Go is Aave's native decentralized stablecoin, and users mint Go against their own collateral. So they're posting up more collateral to mint this stablecoin Go. it just creates another layer of demand and liquidity for the protocol, makes it just harder, harder of a protocol. It's another one of those reasons why this is a grade A protocol to me. Another thing that they're sort of innovated on is the cross-chain developments. So they're in like I think 14 different protocols. We can see it here. Excuse me here. If we go up here, we can kind of go back to the markets here and see like how many different protocols we're on: Arbitrum, Avalanche, Sonic, Polygon, Linea, all these ones here. So they constantly are innovating, constantly adding more protocols as they grow and as they build out the protocol. Just again makes it just a great protocol. Aave itself too also has a token, and it's a governance token. I've mentioned this earlier in the video, where the holders of this token actually get to vote on any new assets that they would add to the protocol, new risk parameters, any upgrades, and all that kind of stuff. It's all done through community governance. One of the reasons why, again, Aave is a grade A protocol to me is because the community is so active in managing the protocol. There's a bunch of competitors to Aave out there. Compound is probably the biggest. I think they've got something like 4 billion in total value locked versus Aave, which is I think 5 or 6 times bigger than that. Compound recently had a hack, which I think I mentioned on a previous video, which is pretty crazy considering how sort of large of a protocol they are and how successful they are. But again, it's just another competitor. They operate very, very similarly to Aave, but I think they're on far less chains, and they have far less collateral options. So they do more simpler collateral options. Aave offers a lot more. Morpho Blue is another protocol that I can't really see much here unless I connect my wallet. I'm not going to do that, but oh, here we go. You can see here like we've got 8% here on Morpho Blue, and they're kind of basically a layer on top of Aave and Compound, and they create peer-to-peer lending rails to increase capital efficiency. Fluid is another one of my favorite protocols. I think it's really close to a grade A protocol for me. They've just been doing great things, and they've got right now I think I mentioned this again on a previous video, but they're offering pretty high rates with their Fluid token, and also Polygon is offering high returns with Polygon rewards. So it's another protocol that I use pretty often. Another great protocol that I think is just doing some incredible innovation in the space. It's a newer protocol, and it's called Pendle Finance. And what it does is it basically separates yield from the principal. So you can lock in fixed yields, or you can speculate on future returns, similar to kind of how bond markets work. So you can see here kind of like USDS is a stablecoin that I use in my portfolio, and here's the fixed price. You can have fixed yield for however long the fixed yield is offered for at 10.9%, or you can try to play with longer term yields that are far more variable and potentially make more, potentially make less. But you can kind of bet on them in the long run, or you can bet on them in the short term with a fixed rate. And I think it's really, really cool what they're doing. So what kind of yield can you expect? It really, really varies. We've kind of taken a look here at Compound's, showing you here you're getting 4.35% here on a USDT on Polygon. We could take a look at different markets and see what like Ethereum's offering USDC. Again, 4.27%. So that's kind of the range you're looking at there. Aave is really also similar. We can take a look here. USDC here on base is offering 5%, pretty darn good. And again, for a safe protocol like Aave, something that I would really trust, that's pretty decent, but anywhere from probably 2 to 6%, depending on the market. And then if you go to kind of different lending protocols, you can see the amounts start to sort of increase here. 8% on Morpho, Fluid's got 8.55% there. And as I mentioned here, you can scroll around and look at all these different stablecoin offerings. 11% here. You got some of these things. I don't even know what some of these these stablecoins are. This is all stablecoins, by the way. This is staked Go, which you can earn 8.65% for Go that you've already got staked. So there's just lots of really cool options there for you. I'm going to wrap up by saying that Aave isn't just a kind of a DeFi tool. It's a next generation lending engine, and one that sort of puts lenders in full control. It rewards responsible behavior and generates real yield without the chaos of all that crypto speculation. For stablecoin investors like me who want capital preservation and income and transparency, Aave stands apart as a grade A protocol in every sense, but there are other great options within the lending world. And hopefully this video was a little bit of a demonstration or a little bit of a deep dive into sort of how these protocols work, how they manage risk, and how over-collateralized lending within crypto works.
I'm the Stable Lad, and if you like today's video, please hit that subscribe button. Every week I break down what's happening in the world of stablecoins and why it matters, clearly, calmly, and without the hype. This channel is for educational purposes. It is not meant to be financial advice, so always do your own research and manage your risk wisely.